Lieutenant Jake Morrison pressed his face against the cold metal of his shuttle window and stared at the endless black space outside. 3 hours into his patrol route, and nothing had happened, not even a stray asteroid to make things interesting. He drummed his fingers on the control panel and checked his watch again. Still for more hours before he could head back to base. Jake leaned back in his pilot's seat and let his mind wander. He thought about the pretty blonde bartender at Murphy's bar on Station 7. Katie had smiled at him last week when he ordered his drink. Maybe she was just being friendly because it was her job, but Jake liked to think there was something more. He imagined asking her out for dinner when he got back. From this boring patrol mission, his thoughts drifted to what he might say to her. He would walk up to the bar looking confident and cool. Katie would see him coming and her face would light up. She would lean across the bar and he would catch a hint of her perfume. Jake closed his eyes and pictured the conversation. They would go to that new restaurant on the upper deck. He could see himself reaching across the table to hold her hand. A loud beeping sound broke through his daydream. Jake snapped his eyes open and looked at his radar screen. A massive object had appeared directly in front of his shuttle. He had been so lost in thought that he had not noticed it approaching. The ship was unlike anything Jake had ever seen in his 5 years of military service. It looked more grown than built. The hull curved and flowed like water frozen in time. Strange blue lights pulsed along its surface in patterns that seemed almost alive. Crystal formations jutted out from various points, glowing with soft purple light. Jake grabbed his communication headset and tried to hail the unknown vessel. Static filled his ears. He switched through different frequencies, but got the same result every time. His hands moved quickly over the controls as he powered up his defensive systems and prepared to send a distress signal back to base. Before he could transmit anything, a strange feeling washed over him. It started as a light tingling in the back of his skull, like someone was gently touching his brain with invisible fingers. The sensation grew stronger, and Jake felt his thoughts becoming fuzzy and distant. Then something impossible happened. Jake heard a voice inside his head, but it was not his own voice. The words came from somewhere else, somewhere outside his mind. "What strange patterns," the voice said. It sounded female and curious. "Such chaos and noise. How do you function with so much disorder in your thoughts?" Jake tried to speak but found he could not move his mouth. The voice continued to probe through his memories like someone flipping through the pages of a book. He felt exposed and vulnerable as his most. Private thoughts were examined by this unknown presence.
"Oh,"
the voice said suddenly, and Jake sensed surprise and embarrassment. "These images are quite detailed. Are all of your species so focused on physical reproduction?" Jake realized with horror that the alien was reading through his daydream about Katie. Every embarrassing detail was being examined and analyzed. He tried desperately to think about something else. Anything else. But the harder he tried, the more vivid the memories became. Inside the alien ship, Zara stepped back from her bioneural interface pod with her pale blue face flushed deep purple. She had never encountered thoughts like these before. The patterns were so wild and unpredictable, jumping from military procedures to romantic fantasies to random memories without any logical structure. Her fellow crew members noticed her reaction immediately. Commander Vex approached her station. With concern written across his angular features, "Are you injured, Zara?" he asked. The neural feedback readings spiked dramatically. Zara tried to compose herself, but found it difficult. The human's thoughts were still echoing in her mind, such passion and intensity, yet mixed with humor and self-doubt in ways that made no sense to her ordered Velothi consciousness. "I am fine," she managed to say. But this creature's mind is extraordinary. The thought patterns are completely unlike anything in our databases. She turned back to her interface, unable to resist another look into the fascinating chaos of human consciousness. The connection reopened, and she found herself back inside. Jake's thoughts. Jake felt the presence return and tried again to block his more embarrassing memories. Unfortunately, his effort to avoid thinking about Katie only made him think about her more. The alien present seemed to find this contradiction fascinating. You attempt to not think about something, which causes you to think about it more intensely, the voice observed. This creates a feedback loop that amplifies the very thoughts you wish to suppress. How inefficient, yet also somehow beautiful in its complexity. Jake finally managed to find his voice. Who are you? What do you want? I am Zara of the Velothi Exploration Fleet, came the mental reply. We detected your vessel and wish to make contact. Apologize for the intrusion into your private thoughts. I did not realize your species was not naturally telepathic. Telepathic, Jake repeated. You can read minds? It is how we communicate, Zara explained. But your mind is so different from ours. So full of contradictions and parallel thoughts. You seem to be thinking about your patrol duties, this Katie person, what you will eat for dinner, and whether your shuttle needs maintenance all at the same time. How is this possible? Jake did not know how to answer that question. Thinking about multiple things at once seemed perfectly normal to him. I guess that's just how human brains work, he said, through their mental link. He felt Zara's amazement and curiosity growing stronger. Whatever she had expected to find on this routine exploration mission, it certainly was not this. The alien ship sent out a formal communication signal that Jake's computer recognized as a standard first contact protocol. His shuttle's speakers crackled to life with translated words in perfect English. Greetings, human vessel. This is Commander Vex of the Velothi Exploration Fleet. We wish to establish peaceful diplomatic relations with your species. Jake looked at his communication panel in confusion. The voice coming through the speakers was different from the one he heard in his head. It was deeper and more formal. He pressed the reply button with shaking hands. This is Lieutenant Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force, he said, trying to sound professional. I am authorized to make first contact on behalf of humanity. That was not entirely true. Jake was just a patrol pilot, not a diplomat. But he figured someone had to handle this situation, and he was the only human around. Excellent, Commander Vex replied. We will send over one of our cultural specialists to begin the exchange of information. Jake felt the mental presence of Zara grow stronger in his mind. Voice returned, sounding excited and eager. I volunteered to be your primary contact, she said directly into his thoughts. I find your mental patterns absolutely fascinating. May I ask you some questions about human behavior? Jake tried to focus on diplomatic procedures and proper first contact protocols. He remembered his training about representing humanity with dignity and respect. Unfortunately, his mind immediately wandered to wondering what Zara looked like. Was she attractive by alien standards? Did aliens even have concepts of physical beauty? Oh my, Zara's voice said with what sounded like surprise. You are thinking about my appearance now, wondering about Velothi mating customs. Your mind truly jumps from topic to topic, without any logical progression. Jake's face turned red with embarrassment. Sorry, I don't mean to think inappropriate things. It just happens automatically. Please do not apologize, Zara replied, and Jake could sense genuine curiosity in her mental voice. This is exactly what I wish to study. You mentioned that these thoughts happen automatically. Do you have no control over your mental processes? Jake tried to explain but found it difficult to put into words. Well, I can control what I choose to focus on, but random thoughts just pop up on their own. Like right now, I'm trying to think about diplomacy. But part of my brain is wondering what you look like. Another part is thinking about lunch. And another part is worried about whether I'm handling this first contact situation properly. Through their mental link, Jake felt Zara's amazement. Her thoughts were like bright, clear streams compared to the chaotic river of his human consciousness. She seemed to think in straight lines while his mind bounced around like a ball in a pinball machine. Incredible, Zara said. You are simultaneously experiencing anxiety about this diplomatic encounter, curiosity about my species, physical hunger, and what you call romantic interest. All of these thoughts exist in your mind at the same time, without interfering with each other. Is that weird? Jake asked. I said. It is unlike anything we have encountered, Zara replied. Velothi consciousness is very ordered. You think about one thing at a time, process it completely, then move to the next thought. Your mind appears to process dozens of different streams of information simultaneously. Jake felt her mental presence. Exploring different areas of his thoughts was like having someone rummage through his personal belongings, but somehow it did not feel invasive. Zara's curiosity was so genuine and innocent that he found himself relaxing despite the awkward situation. I am detecting emotional responses to memories, Zara observed. You think about this Katie person, and I sense what you call happiness and nervousness together. How can you feel two contradictory emotions about the same subject? Jake tried to explain human emotions, but realized he had never thought about it before. I guess I'm happy when I think about her because I like her, but nervous because I don't know if she likes me back, so I feel both things at once. Remarkable, Zara said. Among my people, uncertainty leads to logical analysis until the uncertainty is resolved. You seem to enjoy the uncertainty itself. I wouldn't say I enjoy it exactly, Jake replied. But yeah, sometimes the not knowing is part of what makes it exciting. Zara was quiet for a moment, and Jake could sense her trying to understand this concept. When she spoke again, her mental voice was filled with wonder. You find pleasure in emotional states that would be considered problematic by Valathi standards. The uncertainty, the contradiction, the chaos of simultaneous thoughts and feelings. Is this common among all humans? Jake nodded, even though he knew she could not see him. Pretty much, yeah. We're all kind of messy inside our heads. Messy. Zara repeated the word like she was tasting something new. Yes, that is an accurate description. But it is a beautiful kind of mess. It's like a storm that creates art instead of destruction. Over the next hour, Zara asked Jake hundreds of questions about human psychology, relationships, and daily life. She wanted to know about dreams, about why humans told jokes, about why they created art and music. Each answer led to 10 more questions. Jake found himself enjoying the conversation despite his initial embarrassment. Zara's complete fascination with ordinary human behavior made him see his own species in a new light. Things he had always taken for granted suddenly seemed interesting and unique. Tell me about human friendship, Zara asked. I sense in your memories that you have people you care about but do not wish to mate with. This concept is puzzling to us. Jake thought about his buddy Mike back at the base. Well, Mike and I have been friends since training. We trust each other, help each other out, have fun together. But it's not romantic. It's just friendship. So you can have strong emotional bonds without reproductive purposes, Zara mused. And these friendships provide satisfaction and happiness even without physical intimacy. Exactly, Jake said. Some of my best relationships are just friendships. Through their mental connection, Jake felt Zara's excitement grow. She was discovering that human social structures were far more complex and varied than anything in Valathi society. Each new piece of information opened up entire areas of study that she had never imagined possible. The massive science vessel used Discovery dropped out of hyperspace 3 hours after Jake sent his first contact report. Captain Lisa Chen had assembled the best diplomatic team available on short notice. The ship's sensors immediately locked onto both Jake's small shuttle and the elegant alien vessel hanging motionless in space. Lieutenant Morrison, this is Captain Chen. Lisa's voice came through Jake's communication system. Please report your status immediately. Jake looked around his shuttle cockpit, which had become quite messy during his long conversation with Zara. Food wrappers and empty coffee cups floated in the zero gravity. He had been so focused on answering Zara's endless questions that he had forgotten about basic housekeeping. Captain, I'm fine, Jake replied. I've been in communication with the alien representative for several hours. Her name is Zara, and she's been studying human psychology, Captain Chen asked with surprise. You've determined the alien's gender? Jake paused. He had not really thought about it before. She sounds female and identifies as female. I guess aliens have genders too, through their mental link. Zara's voice filled his thoughts. Your captain sounds concerned. Is there a problem with our cultural exchange? No problem, Jake said out loud, forgetting that Captain Chen was listening. Zara wants to know if there's something wrong. Morrison, who are you talking to? Captain Chen demanded. Sorry, Captain. Zara is telepathic. She can read my thoughts and speak directly into my mind. It's a bit confusing keeping track of who I'm talking to. On the Discovery's bridge, Captain Chen exchanged worried glances with her senior officers. First contact situations were supposed to be handled by trained diplomats, not young patrol pilots having telepathic conversations with alien entities. "Lieutenant, we're sending over our diplomatic team," Captain Chen announced. "Please prepare for docking procedures." Dr. Alex Rodriguez gathered his xenobiology equipment and headed for the shuttle bay. As the expedition's leading expert on alien life forms, he was excited about humanity's first encounter with intelligent extraterrestrial life. His assistant, Dr. Kelly Barnes, followed behind carrying additional scanning devices. "I still can't believe it's actually happening," Kelly said as they climbed into the diplomatic shuttle. "First contact with an alien species. Just remember to follow all protocols," Dr. Rodriguez replied. "We need to make a good impression." 20 minutes later, their shuttle docked with Jake's vessel. The moment Dr. Rodriguez stepped through the airlock, he stopped and stared at Jake in amazement. "Lieutenant, you look completely relaxed," he observed. "Most people would be terrified after hours of contact with an unknown alien species." Jake shrugged. "Zara's actually pretty nice. She's just really curious about how human minds work. Been asking me questions about everything from why we laugh to why we get jealous." Dr. Rodriguez pulled out his scanning equipment and began taking readings. "Are you experiencing any physical effects from the telepathic contact? Headaches, nausea, disorientation?" "Nothing like that," Jake said. "It feels pretty natural, actually. Like having a conversation, except the other person is inside your head." Through their mental connection, Zara spoke to Jake again. "More humans have arrived. I can sense their minds from here. They think in patterns similar to yours, but each one is unique. How fascinating." Jake turned to Dr. Rodriguez. "Zara says she can sense your minds too. She's interested in meeting you." Dr. Rodriguez looked nervous. "Is it safe?" "We don't know." "Anything about the long-term effects of telepathic contact?" Before Jake could answer, a new voice filled the shuttle. It was the same formal tone they had heard from Commander Vex earlier. "Human vessel. This is the Velothi ship. We request permission to send over a cultural exchange team. Our scientist Zara has made some remarkable discoveries about your species that we believe warrant further study." Captain Chen's voice came. Through the communication system, "This is Captain Chen of the UES Discovery. We would be honored to meet with your representatives." "Excellent," Commander Vex replied. "We will transfer one individual to your vessel. Please be aware that Zara may seem excited. She has never encountered anything like human consciousness before." 30 minutes later, a small alien transport pod docked with the Discovery. The airlock cycled open, and Zara stepped through into the human ship. She was humanoid in basic shape, but clearly alien. Her skin was pale blue with silver markings that seemed to shift and flow. Her eyes were larger than human eyes and glowed with soft purple light. She moved with grace that reminded Jake of a dancer. Dr. Rodriguez immediately began scanning her with his instruments. "Incredible," he muttered as he read the data. "Her brain activity is off the charts. The neural patterns are completely unlike anything we've seen." Zara looked around the shuttle with obvious curiosity. When her gaze fell on Jake, her skin darkened to a deeper blue color. "Oh. It is strange to see you with my physical eyes after knowing your thoughts so intimately," she said. Her spoken voice was musical and pleasant. "You're exactly as I pictured you, yet somehow different." Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward. "I'm Dr. Alex Rodriguez, xenobiologist. We're very honored to meet you." Zara turned to study him intently. "Dr. Rodriguez, your mind is fascinating. So focused and analytical, yet I detect streams of excitement and scientific curiosity running beneath your logical thoughts. And you, Dr. Barnes, your mental patterns show incredible attention to detail combined with natural empathy." Kelly stepped back in surprise. "She can read all of us at once." "Your species is remarkable," Zara continued. "Each human mind is like a complex symphony with multiple melodies playing simultaneously. In Velothi society, we think in single, clear tones. Your mental chaos is beautiful." Dr. Rodriguez began asking questions about Velothi physiology and culture. As Zara answered, Jake noticed that she kept glancing at him with what seemed like affection. The telepathic connection had created a bond between them that went beyond normal first contact protocols. "Zara," Dr. Rodriguez said, "what do you mean when you say our thoughts are chaotic? We seem perfectly organized to ourselves." Zara smiled an expression that looked surprisingly human despite her alien features. Observe your own mind right now, Dr. Rodriguez. You are thinking about my answers to your questions, wondering about Valathi technology, feeling excitement about the scientific implications, remembering your training about first contact procedures, and noticing that Lieutenant Morrison seems attached to me emotionally. 5 different streams of thought, all happening at once. Dr. Rodriguez paused and realized she was absolutely right. His mind was processing multiple things simultaneously without him even noticing it. Among my people, Zara explained, such mental multitasking would be considered a severe disorder. Yet you do it naturally, and it seems to enhance your problem-solving abilities rather than hinder them. 3 days after first contact, emergency communications signals flooded the Valathi ship. Elder Keth's voice carried across space from the Valathi homeworld, and his tone was not pleased. Commander Vex, recall your cultural specialist immediately, the message demanded. The High Council has reviewed her reports about human mental patterns. These beings are too dangerous for continued contact. On the Discovery's bridge, Captain Chen listened to the translated message with growing concern. The formal diplomatic talks had been going well until this moment. Now it seemed like everything was falling apart. Zara stood in the Discovery's main conference room, her skin flickering between pale blue and deep purple as she received the High Council's decision. Through her telepathic link to the Valathi ship, Jake sat beside her, feeling her distress through their mental connection. They are afraid, Zara said quietly. The High Council believes that human consciousness is too chaotic to be safely studied. They worry that prolonged contact might affect Valathi mental stability. Dr. Rodriguez leaned forward. Surely they understand the scientific value of our interaction. We've learned so much about both species in just 3 days. That is exactly the problem, Zara replied. I have been sending them detailed reports about human mental abilities. Your capacity for creative thinking, your ability to hold contradictory ideas, your emotional complexity. The Valathi leadership, these traits appear dangerous and unpredictable. Captain, Chen activated the communication system. Commander Vex, this is Captain Chen. We request a formal meeting to discuss this situation. Commander Vex's reply came quickly. Captain Chen, I regret that we must terminate first contact procedures. The Valathi High Council has declared humans to be mentally incompatible with galactic civilization standards. Jake felt anger rising in his chest. They can't just write us off like that. We haven't done anything wrong. Through their mental link, Zara sensed his frustration and tried to calm him. Jake, your emotional response is exactly what they fear. You can go from curiosity to anger to determination in seconds. Most species take hours or days to process such emotional changes. But that's just how we are, Jake protested. Make us dangerous. I know, Zara said. That is why I've been arguing with the High Council. I believe human mental chaos is not a weakness, but a strength. She stood and walked to the conference room's viewing window, looking out at the stars. In my research, I have discovered something remarkable about human consciousness. Your ability to think about multiple things simultaneously allows you to find solutions that logical minds cannot reach. Dr. Rodriguez pulled up his datapad. Can you give us an example? Yesterday, when we were discussing the navigation problem, with your shuttle's guidance system, Zara explained, I approached it with standard Valathi logic. I analyzed each component separately, tested each system individually, and concluded that the malfunction was impossible to fix without replacement parts. Jake nodded. But I fixed it by thinking about 3 different problems at once and finding a connection between them. Exactly, Zara said. You thought about the navigation error, the power fluctuation in the communications array, and a completely unrelated memory about fixing your father's old car. Somehow your mind connected these 3 separate things and found a solution that worked. Captain Chen looked interested. Are you saying that human problem-solving abilities are superior to Valathi methods? Not superior, Zara corrected. Different. Valathi logic is precise and reliable, but it follows predictable patterns. Human thinking is chaotic, but creative. We can make connections that we cannot see. Act. Dr. Rodriguez was taking notes rapidly. This could revolutionize our understanding of consciousness and artificial intelligence. That is what I have been trying to tell the High Council, Zara said. But they are concerned about other implications. If human mental patterns are truly chaotic, then you are unpredictable in all areas, including military strategy and diplomacy. Jake felt a chill. They think we're a military threat? Some do, Zara admitted. There are reports that other species have also detected human ships recently. The Corvan Empire and the hegemony forces are both interested in studying human capabilities. Captain Chen's expression grew serious. Are these other species hostile? The Corvan Empire practices aggressive territorial expansion, Zara explained. They are always looking for new weapons and tactics. The hegemony forces are even worse. They believe in controlling all other species through fear and intimidation. Dr. Rodriguez looked up from his notes. So humanity is caught between species that want to study us as weapons and species that want to avoid us as threats. Precisely, Zara said, which is why my research is so important. I need to prove to the High Council that humans are not dangerous. To galactic stability. Jake stood and began pacing the room. How can we prove that? We are chaotic and unpredictable. They're right about that. But you are also capable of incredible creativity, compassion, and cooperation, Zara pointed out. In 3 days of contact, you have shown kindness, curiosity, and a genuine desire for peaceful relations. These are not the traits of a dangerous species. Captain Chen activated the communication system again. Commander Vex, we formally request a meeting with your High Council. We believe this situation can be resolved through continued dialogue. That is not possible, Commander Vex replied. The High Council has made their decision. We will depart within the hour. Zara's skin turned deep purple with distress. If the Valathi withdraw from contact, it will send a message to other species that humans are too dangerous for diplomatic relations. You could become isolated in the galaxy. Or worse, Dr. Rodriguez added grimly. If aggressive species think we have some kind of mental weapon, they might attack us preemptively. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. A simple patrol mission had somehow become a critical moment for all of humanity's future in space. There has to be something we can do, he said. Zara, is there anyone on the High Council who might listen to reason? Zara closed her eyes and reached out through her telepathic connection to the Valathi ship. Elder Keth is the most influential member, but he is also the most cautious. He believes that any risk to Valathi mental stability is unacceptable. What if we could prove that human mental chaos is actually beneficial? Dr. Rodriguez suggested, not just for us, but for the entire galactic community. How would we do that? Captain Chen asked. Zara opened her eyes and looked at Jake. There might be a way, but it would require you to do something that goes against all Valathi logic and training. What do you mean? Jake asked. I would need to open a full telepathic link with you, Zara explained. Not just reading your surface thoughts, but merging our consciousness temporarily. If I can experience human mental chaos directly and show the High Council that it does not cause madness, they might reconsider. Dr. Rodriguez shook his head.
Ow.
That sounds extremely dangerous. We have no idea what effect that could have on either of you. It is dangerous, Zara admitted. No Valathi has ever attempted such a deep connection with a non-telepathic species. But it might be our only chance to prevent a complete breakdown in relations. Jake looked around the room at the worried faces of his fellow humans. Then he looked at Zara, whose purple eyes reflected both fear and determination. If it might help, he said, I'm willing to try. The emergency alarm blared through the Discovery just as Jake and Zara were preparing for their dangerous telepathic experiment. Captain Chen's voice came over the ship's communication system with urgent news. All hands to battle stations. Multiple hostile ships have entered the system. They are attacking the civilian trade station at coordinate 749. Jake and Zara rushed to the bridge where the main screen showed a terrible sight. The peaceful trading post where merchants from dozens of species gathered to do business was under attack. 3 massive warships with the dark red markings of the hegemony forces were firing on the station's defensive shields. "Captain, we're receiving a distress call from the station," reported Lieutenant Commander Amy Foster from the communications station. "They have over 2,000 civilians on board and their shields are failing." Captain Chen studied the tactical display. "How long until our reinforcements arrive?" "At least 6 hours," replied Commander Pete Walsh from the tactical station.
Ow.
"The nearest fleet is too far away to help in time." On the Velothi ship, Commander Vex was dealing with his own crisis. The hegemony attackers had deployed some kind of mental dampening field that was blocking all telepathic communication. His crew was effectively blind and deaf, unable to coordinate their actions or even think clearly. Commander called out Navigator Ilan. "The dampening field is affecting all of our systems. We cannot maintain formation or target the enemy ships." Commander Vex tried to reach out with his telepathic abilities, but felt only empty silence, where his mental connections should be. "Send a message to the human ship. Tell them we are unable to assist due to technical difficulties." On the Discovery's bridge, Jake watched the battle with growing frustration. The Velothi ship was drifting helplessly while the trade station's shields grew weaker with each attack. "Captain, the Velothi aren't responding to our communications," reported Lieutenant Commander Foster. "Their ship appears to be dead in space." Dr. Rodriguez ran his scanner over Zara, who was standing perfectly still with a confused expression on her face. "The dampening field is affecting her too. Her telepathic abilities are completely blocked." "What is this dampening field?" Captain Chen asked. "Hegemony technology," Zara said weakly. "They use it to neutralize telepathic species during combat. Without our mental connections, most advanced species become helpless." Jake felt anger rising in his chest as he watched the innocent civilians under attack. "So they built a weapon, specifically to shut down telepathic minds?" "Yes," Zara replied. "It is very effective against species that rely on mental communication for coordination and planning." Captain Chen looked at the tactical display again. The Discovery was a science vessel, not a warship. They had minimal weapons and no chance of defeating 3 hegemony battleships in direct combat. Captain Commander Walsh said, "We could try to evacuate some civilians from the station, but our ships are too small to save everyone." Jake stared at the screen and felt his mind racing through possibilities. While everyone else was focused on the obvious military solutions, his chaotic human thinking was making connections in different directions.
8,
he said suddenly. "The dampening field only affects telepathic species, right?"
That is correct.
Zara confirmed. "Species that communicate through sound and visual signals are unaffected. Then humans can still function normally," Jake continued. "We don't rely on telepathy for anything." Captain Chen nodded. "Yes, but we're still outgunned 3-1. What are you thinking, Lieutenant?" Jake's mind was jumping between his memories of the trade station's layout, his knowledge of hegemony attack patterns, and something Zara had said about human creativity. The hegemony ships are using standard formation tactics, right? They position themselves to prevent escape while maintaining maximum firepower. "Standard siege formation," Commander Walsh confirmed. "Very effective and logical. What if we do something that isn't logical?" Jake asked. "Something that doesn't follow standard tactical patterns?" Dr. Rodriguez looked confused. "Like, what?" Jake turned to Captain Chen. "The trade station has industrial fabrication equipment, right? They build and repair ships there?" "Yes," Captain Chen replied. "But I don't see how that helps us. Hegemony expects us to either fight them directly or run away," Jake explained. "They don't expect us to turn the trade station itself into a weapon." Zara's eyes widened as she followed Jake's chaotic thought process. "You want to use the station's construction equipment as offensive weapons?" "Exactly," Jake said. "The fabrication systems can launch large objects at high speed for construction purposes. If we reprogram them to target the hegemony ships instead of construction sites, we could surprise them." Commander Walsh shook his head. "That's completely against all tactical doctrine. Construction equipment isn't designed for combat." "Which is exactly why it might work," Jake insisted. "The hegemony won't see it coming because it's not a logical military strategy." Captain Chen looked at the tactical display where the trade station's shields were down to 20%. It's crazy enough that it might actually work. But how? Do we get close enough to reprogram their systems? The hegemony is jamming normal communications, Jake said, but they're not blocking physical access. I could take a shuttle and dock with the station manually. It's suicide, Dr. Rodriguez protested. You'd have to fly through an active combat zone. Not if I do it the illogical way, Jake replied. Instead of trying to avoid their weapons, I fly directly at them. They'll think I'm attacking and focus their fire on me while I actually slip past them to reach the station. Zara grabbed Jake's arm. Your plan requires you to make split-second decisions while under fire. You would need to think about multiple variables simultaneously while controlling your ship, avoiding weapons, and staying focused on your mission. So basically, I need to think like a human, Jake said with a grin. Captain Chen made her decision. Do it. Commander Walsh, prepare a shuttle for Lieutenant Morrison. Dr. Rodriguez, can you program the station's fabrication systems remotely? I can establish a direct link. Yes, Dr. Rodriguez replied. I'm going with Jake, Zara announced. The dampening field is stronger near the hegemony ships, but if I can get close enough to the station, I might be able to coordinate with the civilians. Inside through short-range telepathy. Absolutely not, Captain Chen said. It's too dangerous. Captain Zara said firmly. Jake's plan requires the kind of chaotic thinking that telepathic species cannot do. But coordinating a complex evacuation while reprogramming industrial equipment requires the precise mental organization that humans struggle with. We need both human creativity and Valathi logic working together. Jake felt the familiar sensation of Zara's mind touching his. Even through the dampening field's interference, their connection remained strong. She's right, he said. They would make a good team. Captain Chen looked at them both. Then at the tactical display where the trade station's shields had dropped to 15%. Go, she ordered, and good luck. Jake and Zara ran for the shuttle bay, their minds already working together to plan their impossible rescue mission. Behind them, Captain Chen opened a communication channel to the trade station. Attention station personnel, this is Captain Chen of the UES Discovery. Prepare for emergency evacuation procedures. Help is on the way. Jake piloted the shuttle directly toward the largest hegemony battleship, his hands steady on the controls despite the chaos around him. Laser fire lit up space as the enemy ships tried to target his small craft. Instead of dodging like a normal pilot would, Jake flew in an unpredictable pattern that made no tactical sense. Jake, you are flying directly into their weapons range, Zara said from the co-pilot seat. Her telepathic abilities were weakened by the dampening field, but she could still sense his thoughts clearly. This should be terrifying, yet your mind remains calm and focused. I'm scared, Jake admitted, as he spun the shuttle in a wild spiral that avoided 3 laser blasts. But I'm also excited, worried about the civilians, thinking about the technical specs of the fabrication equipment, and wondering if Katie from the bar would be impressed by this rescue mission. Zara watched in amazement as Jake's chaotic thought processes allowed him to process multiple streams of information simultaneously. He was calculating flight paths, monitoring enemy positions, planning their docking approach, and maintaining emotional stability all at the same time. There, Jake pointed at a small docking port on the trade station's lower section. The fabrication bay entrance. If we can get inside without the hegemony noticing, we can reprogram their systems. The shuttle slipped past the hegemony ships and docked with the station just as the main shields finally collapsed. Inside the station, panic filled the corridors as civilians from dozens of species tried to reach escape pods and emergency shelters. Jake and Zara ran through the crowded hallways toward the fabrication control center. Dr. Rodriguez's voice came through their communication devices with urgent instructions. The main fabrication system is controlled from Level 7, Section 12, he reported. I'm sending you the reprogramming codes now. They found the fabrication control room filled with alien technicians who were trying to shut down all systems. To prevent damage, when Jake explained their plan, most of them thought he was insane. You want to turn construction equipment into weapons? Asked Chief Engineer Polk, a tall alien with 6 arms and crystal-like skin that is completely against all safety protocols. Safety protocols won't matter if the hegemony destroys the station, Jake replied. He sat down at the main control console and began entering Dr. Rodriguez's codes.
Oh.
Zara, can you coordinate with the civilians to get them away from the outer sections? Zara closed her eyes and reached out with her telepathic abilities. The dampening field was weaker inside the station, allowing her to make contact with the telepathic species among the civilians. I am establishing evacuation routes, she reported. The telepathic species are helping to guide others to safety. Jake's fingers flew over the controls as he reprogrammed the massive fabrication systems. The equipment was designed to launch building materials and completed ship components, but with the right modifications, it could fire projectiles at enemy targets. Got it, Jake announced. The system is ready, but I need someone to manually target the hegemony ships. Chief Engineer Polk stepped forward. I know these systems better than anyone. If you can tell me where to aim, I can hit anything within range. Through the station's windows, they could see the 3 hegemony battleships moving closer for their final attack. The enemy commander's voice came over the communication system with a surrender demand. Attention station personnel. Have 60 seconds to surrender before we destroy your facility completely. Jake activated the fabrication launchers. Chief Polk, target the lead ship's engine section. The first projectile launched with incredible force was a solid metal beam originally meant for constructing ship hulls, but it struck the hegemony battleship like a massive bullet. The enemy ship's engines exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Direct hit, Polk announced with satisfaction. That felt good. The hegemony ships immediately changed their formation, trying to understand what had attacked them. Their sensors showed no weapon signatures from the station, only construction equipment that should not have been able to hurt them. Target. The second ship's command section, Jake ordered another metal beam launched, this time striking the enemy ship's bridge. A hegemony vessel spun out of control as its command crew was knocked unconscious by the impact. The third hegemony ship tried to retreat, but Jake had anticipated this move. Polk, can you calculate an intercept course? Already done, the engineer replied, launching in 3, 2, 1. The final projectile caught the fleeing battleship in its weapon arrays, disabling its ability to fight back. All 3 enemy ships were now either destroyed or helpless. This is impossible, came a transmission from the surviving hegemony commander. How did a civilian station defeat 3 battleships? Jake activated the communication system. This is Lieutenant Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. You attacked innocent civilians, so we stopped you. Leave the system immediately, or we'll finish what you started. The damaged hegemony ships limped away into hyperspace, unwilling to face more of the humans' unpredictable tactics. On the Discovery's bridge, Captain Chen watched the battle's end with amazement. How did they do that? Our tactical computers show it should have been impossible. Dr. Rodriguez was analyzing the battle data. Jake used the station's construction equipment in a way that no logical military mind would consider. The hegemony couldn't predict his strategy because it didn't follow any standard tactical patterns. Commander Vex's voice came over the communication system as the dampening field finally shut down. Captain Chen, this is remarkable. Your Lieutenant Morrison achieved victory through pure creative thinking. Such tactics would be impossible for telepathic species to develop. Back on the trade station, Jake and Zara were helping coordinate the civilian evacuation to safer areas. The crisis was over, but Jake could sense that something important had changed. Zara, he said, do you think this will change how the Velothi High Council sees humans? Zara's skin had returned to its normal pale blue color, and her expression was thoughtful. Jake, you have just proven that human mental chaos is not a weakness but a tremendous strength. Your ability to think creatively under pressure saved over 2,000 lives today. Her telepathic connection with the Velothi ship brought news that confirmed her hopes. Elder Keth is requesting a full meeting with your diplomatic team. The High Council wants to formally apologize for their earlier decision and discuss establishing permanent relations with humanity. Captain Chen's voice came through their communication devices. All personnel, were receiving messages from over 20 different species requesting diplomatic contact with humanity. It seems word of our rescue operation is spread quickly through the galactic community. Jake looked around the fabrication bay where aliens from many different species were working together to repair the damage from the battle. Chief Engineer Polk approached them with a smile on his crystalline face. Lieutenant Morrison Polk said, "I have been building things for 40 years, but I never thought to use construction equipment as weapons. Your human creativity has taught me to think in new ways." Over the following weeks, Jake found himself assigned as a permanent cultural liaison between humanity and the galactic community. His partnership with Zara had evolved into a formal diplomatic position that allowed them to continue their study of consciousness and creativity. The embarrassing first contact incident, where Zara had accidentally read Jake's private thoughts, had led to humanity's acceptance into galactic civilization. Jake's chaotic mind and Zara's ordered telepathy had proven that different forms of consciousness could work together to solve problems that neither could handle alone. During their final meeting before returning to their respective homeworlds, Zara spoke to Jake about what their encounter had meant. "When I first read your thoughts about Katie the bartender, I was confused by the chaos and complexity," she said. "I understand that this beautiful confusion is what makes humans special. You think with your hearts as well as your minds, and that gives you strength that purely logical beings cannot match." Jake smiled. "And working with you taught me that having organized thoughts can be just as valuable as creative ones. Maybe that's what the galaxy needs, different kinds of minds working together." As the human and Valathi ships prepared to depart, Jake realized that his embarrassing first contact experience had become the foundation for a new era of cooperation between species. Sometimes the most important discoveries came from the most unexpected places, including the chaotic thoughts of a young pilot who just wanted to ask a bartender on a date.